I guess continuation of NVIDIA day. Um, NVIDIA is like leading the market, and what you're seeing on your chart in front of you is the SPOOs, Globex session on the left and NVIDIA on the right. And we are trading off of that. And we're pretty much on SPOOs, SPX, and NASDAQ, kind of in no man's land where people start looking at the round numbers, the 53, the 5350s, the 5375s, the 5400s. Then you just have to do a quick correlation and look for the key round numbers with SPX. And then that's when you're going to see some standard deviations come into play when we get stretched to certain levels. Outside of that, you're really, the key is to be, you got to watch NVIDIA, and another reference point would be watching what bonds are doing. Dan just put on a nice little short, and he's already well in the money on that. So I'm going to post some levels, and I'll throw it in the room. But I think I'm a firm believer. I mean, when you have a move like this, we're already kind of extended. We're going to open up, and you're going to see some profit taken with NVIDIA. And when that does, that could drive us back down into the ES 4850, which has been resistance for a number of days. And that would be the area that we would be looking to get along. You don't want to short the momentum with NVIDIA here on ES, unless you really can get a good tell with NVIDIA profit takings, because you don't know the size of the profit taking and the number of funds that are waiting for 1,200 versus passing through this 1,000 level. So that's what you need to be cautious of. It's like, just because we're extended, you don't just blindly put on a short here. I would love to see some profit taking in NVIDIA and somehow some other players, and for us to be able to get long at the 5350. That is possible because that's in the SPOOs. That's 14. We're trading 14 points above that area, so that's entirely possible. So that's a level that I'm looking for to get for a long. And I'm going to keep it as simple as that. I will post a couple of charts in the room, and I will yield to Dan.
Good morning, everybody. What's going on here? There we go. So we were just talking about UB, and I actually took a short here at 124.22. It stop hunted. My stop was at actually 27. Didn't stop out there. I sort of went and got another cup of coffee, and I didn't have a scale in. I didn't think it was, UB's not usually one that's going to react really quickly. And it did, and it really dumped down here, and I got back to the screen, and I was able to take half off at 04, so right up here. So now I'm sort of sitting in a half size position from 22. I'm going to see if maybe it comes back to 15, 16, 17, 18 is an area that of prior resistance, and then maybe I could see this taking off and coming down and testing sort of this area here, 123.16. So that's a nice trade I'm going to watch today. I mentioned in the room a major level to watch is NQ 19021. So we topped out at 23 here. This is a 1 minute, but that's just it looks like it's a gamma level that was on Spot Gamma's report this morning. So that one actually 021, I'm going to put a line there, but I'll look and see what that correlates to on NDX when we open. Now we're coming back to this 1900 area. It'll be interesting to see if we get through this area and maybe come back down into this sort of 85 box from overnight. I could see certainly that that being a potential spot where we pause, or we could, and let me go to a different chart setting here. We got all of this low volume area that needs to fill in, and the reason I'm on NQ this morning is obviously because of NVIDIA. So you've got all this low volume area. If you are an NQ trader, you've got the volume point of control all the way down at 18,945. So 55 points lower than we are currently. I'm in sort of the camp that David's in, is that a lot of times on these big moves, you get those profit take retracements overnight that might give us a nice spot to get long. The thing about earnings and not a data release is we don't know what the other market participants in terms of stocks are going to do. So it's different than a data release where something's a macro headwind or tailwind, and you know what the rest of the broader market is you're going to react to it. NVIDIA is one name. It's a big name for sure, but how does the rest of the market react? And NVIDIA can't do it by itself. It's done a pretty good job for a little bit, but it really can't do it by itself. There has to be some participation from other names. So that's something I want to watch today and see how the price action is on other names, not just NVIDIA, because that could be sort of we could learn what the market is thinking now. The market's extended. We're extended big time to the upside. And let me go to, and I if you look here, let me even go to, we've had a pretty damn good run off of this 1700 level. Let's sort of not get a little over our skis here, and starting to see on Twitter land a little bit of people getting a little lazy and with longs. It seems that tends to be a time when the market likes to remind people who's in charge. So let's not get too over our skis and play intraday here and see what happens. I'm going to go to this one because this is a name that's sort of interesting to me. This one's going to open up in this area like 170, 171. This is not at all-time highs. This is one that has traded historically with NVIDIA. Can that start to make a push back up into 180, 200 range if NVIDIA continues to be strong after a retrace? If this holds, like, I don't know, maybe the bottom of this old channel here, I don't even go that far. I'm going to go to a little different just so you guys can see a little bit of the process to see where I think it maybe can hold. 168.50 area.
I'd agree with that.
You know, if we come down, we see a retrace into this 168.50, 169. Is that worth a stab long? Probably. So that's an interesting one for today to see if it plays follow the leader, because it has been sort of not following the exact same of late, and you know, you're seeing the other semi companies, Broadcom up 50, 60 bucks. You're seeing some names up pretty good. AMD is historically traded with NVIDIA. So I think NVIDIA is eating their lunch, which is probably why they're not trading together as much anymore. But that's an interesting play to play follow the leader, and one that's pretty significantly off of highs that maybe could play a little bit of catch up. So yeah, with that, I'll turn it over.
Good morning. My screen up. All right, there we are. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well,
that looks a little Christmassy.
Yes, Christmas in May. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a coming off of a cold. So kind of back here at this chart that now going on a few weeks. Kind of been saying this for a while that this could extend all the way up to this 55.60, and we're on the way. The big levels for today that I'm watching on the upside here is this 53.74.25. That is a 111.3 extension. That seems to be historically a pretty decent.
Can you say
area.
that one again? I just wanted to write it down.
53.74.25. So in the Fibonacci world, that is definitely a biggie. I would keep an eye on.
That's close, and you know how we like to talk about sort of correlations.
Right.
That would be close to SPX 5350. I think the spread's probably around 21, so I would bring that down a little bit, but that would be close to that SPX 5350 area.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, I would definitely keep an eye on that. The more extended we get in these moves, these moving averages catch up. So right now, immediately for any big flushes, we have this 8-day sort of trailing at around 53.10 right now. Not that I expect that today, but that's when we grind around these levels, which we did for the last week, it sort of gives those moving averages a chance to catch up on the daily. So just be aware of that. Excuse me. We looked at this yesterday, this kind of ascending triangle flat top. We broke out of it. This was just a classic case of manipulation here, and then just breakout. We came outside, retested it, and now pushing back up. So if we zoom in, this is kind of what I'm watching. David mentioned this 53.50 down to 53.47 is going to be sort of a key area here. If we can come and retest this was the breakout. I do have a daily pivot down here too, so there's a lot of support in this zone right here. That's like sort of 47 to 50. When we get extended here, because we don't have a whole lot of levels up here, all-time highs, I rely heavily on my pivots. So we were talking about this 74, which is this Fibonacci that I drew on the chart. That's my level that I'm sort of counting on to be key resistance. We have a daily pivot just below and a weekly pivot just above. So
what's the daily pivot? 71?
70.50, and then the weekly is 78.75.
Yeah, so we're back to that SPX 5350. So that we know that's a big one now. Good, thanks.
So that's really my sort of heavy resistance area, and this is kind of my heavy support area. So that's kind of the main zones I think we're going to trade within. If we get outside of those, that's where we can sort of get into some trends and start filling these gaps down here. SPX is going to open up, with a probably what we had 60, so around 40. So we're going to have a decent gap here potentially to fill on SPX. So that's something to watch. And then on individuals, Tesla's shaping up for another leg up. It came down. I think George took this long yesterday off of this 61.8 that I mentioned in pre-market as being sort of the max, line in the sand here yesterday. And now we're getting sort of that move back up. And I think Jensen said yesterday, he mentioned Tesla being sort of at the forefront of autonomous driving and expects that to continue and eventually it to sort of be a standard thing in most cars. So that might help a little bit. Obviously, watch chips. I was watching a mat has a nice gap up, but most of them do. Bitcoin was looking like it was going to reverse, give us some long moves. So keep an eye on coin. MSTR has a nice looking setup here. If we can compromise this trend line, it can definitely come up in here, but keep an eye on Bitcoin.
That's a tough name to play, but if you have the cojones,
yeah, I mean, definitely on the option side, it's pretty spready.
yeah,
It's gotten better, but it's definitely still spready.
Yeah.
Baba continues to come back. Here we're getting close to this 200 day. I'm going to watch how it acts there. This is something I've been talking about adding to my long term. Obviously, NVIDIA, way extended, but we'll see what the profit taking does in this. But it's pretty crazy. I was reading this morning that just some facts now. NVIDIA has a cap higher than the GDP of every country in the world except for 7. 7 times the market cap of Costco, 9 times the market cap of AMD.
That's crazy.
Higher than the GDP higher than the GDP of every U.S. state except for California and Texas, and 17 times the market cap of Goldman Sachs, and a higher market cap than the entire German stock market, which is just crazy.
Swine.
But anyway, that's about it. I think it's kind of nice that we got this breakout, open things up a little bit now, so we should get some nice intraday moves. And the big level on the upside again is that 53.7425 that I'll be watching, and then on the low side down here in this 53.47 to 50 area. So that's kind of the outside ranges that I would expect. Some reactions, and let's see what happens.
It should be an interesting day. These days are always interesting because they can be really, really big traps for people chasing off the gun. Especially because it's not a date. Remember, it's not a data release. It's one company. Yes, it's a massive company, but it's one company. This is a market of stocks, and the other ones need to play along for the rip to continue, or else it becomes it was a low volume rip overnight that then gets retraced. Sort of when the big participants are playing New York Open at 9:30. So just be very, very careful in trying to get long. The big thing is remember, sort of, we like those gap fill plays. If we do get a gap fill on SPX, that is usually a nice ES long, and can be a high probability long if we get a nice bounce off of that gap fill. That's a play that this room really, really enjoys playing, has high probabilities, and we're going to watch for that one to play out.
I think between double distributions and the gap algo plays, those are my 2 highest odds setups and the most consistent and successful.
I agree. The gap fill bounce, it just seems it seems to always give you a 5. It gives you a quick scale, which reduces your risk immediately, almost every time.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key right there.
It is, and if you get that quick scale to reduce your risk immediately, it allows you to give the trade a little bit of wiggle and to see if you can get a nice retracement. And you don't need very many trades a day to make money here. Remember that. So just wait for it.
And then off that sort of trade, all you got to do is, so back to correlating off of NDX or NVIDIA, you want to see how those are moving, because if we're close to the gap on the SPX, but yet looks like NDX or whatever the leading stock is of the day, it looks like it has a little bit more. Right there, there's a sign, don't go in full size. You'll get a reaction on the algo, but there could be a little bit more slippage there, like 3 to 5 points versus like 1 to 2. So if that's a possibility, simply go in with half size or go in with a quarter.
And the other thing too is there's multiple ways to sort of skin the cat there, and you've got to watch that really short time frame chart when you get that gap fill, because it's not an automatic gap fill slam long, gap fill slam short. You've got to watch for that reaction to see if it's there. If it's there, that's when you can take it. But if it's not there right away, just take a step back, see what's going to happen, because if things get really slippy through that gap fill, you can get burnt really quickly. So you need to make sure that you're confirming the support being there before executing, and you do that on a short time frame chart.
Exactly. We like that 30-second chart when we're looking to enter a trade.
Yep.
All right, guys, we got time for everybody to go grab coffee, unless there's a question out there.
Nope, I don't see anything.
Okay.
Have a good day, guys. We'll talk.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day. All right, talk,
Yeah.
guys.
Have a
Bye.
good one.